There is a liquid at your hardware store right now. Costs under $3. It cleans a fuel injector so completely, so permanently, that the injector performs inside OEM specification the same day you treat it. No mechanic, no $400 flush service, no dealership appointment, no part replacement. NASCAR pit engineers used it on race day engines where a single fouled injector meant instant elimination from competition. Diesel mechanics in rural Wyoming have run the same injectors for 22 years without a single professional cleaning service. A retired GM fuel systems engineer named Frank Duro documented it across 480 engines between 1983 and 1989, tested on city fleet vehicles, commercial trucks, and passenger cars, and his restoration rate was 91%. In 2003, an internal dealership service network memo was distributed to regional service managers across 14 states. The subject line read, "Do not recommend customer self-treatment options under any circumstance." They did not suppress it because it was dangerous. They suppressed it because a $3 bottle from a hardware store cannot be invoiced. And what cannot be invoiced cannot feed a $6.8 billion annual service industry built entirely on your ignorance. This is the story of the liquid that Big Auto prayed you would forget. The year is 1983. A retired GM fuel systems engineer named Frank Duro is standing inside a municipal vehicle depot in Flint, Michigan. He has spent 16 years inside General Motors designing fuel delivery systems for production engines, watching, testing, and documenting exactly how fuel moves from tank to combustion chamber at tolerances most people never think about. Now the city has handed him a problem: 60 municipal vehicles, clogged fuel injectors across the entire fleet, budget frozen, no replacement parts authorized, no service contracts available. Frank Duro cannot order his way out of this, so he starts pulling injectors apart. Under magnification, he finds something every mechanic on every corner already assumed but never actually examined. The injectors are not broken. They are not cracked. The solenoids are functional. The pins are intact. They are coated. A fuel injector operates at a spray tolerance of 1 micron. 1. A human hair is 70 microns wide. When hydrocarbon combustion deposits carbon varnish built from incomplete fuel burn cycles accumulate on the injector tip, a layer just 3 microns thick destroys the spray pattern entirely. The injector that once atomized fuel into a perfect cone now dribbles. The engine misfires, power drops, fuel economy collapses. Every mechanic on every lift will tell you the injector is dead. It is not dead. It is coated. Duro begins testing chemical compounds capable of dissolving hydrocarbon varnish deposits at the molecular level. He is looking for something that attacks carbon bonds without corroding injector metal, without damaging fuel system seals, without requiring disassembly. After 3 years of controlled testing across 6 engine types, he identifies it. Polyethyramine, a carbon-dissolving detergent compound, available in its purest, highest concentration form in a product sold at every hardware store and grocery store on Earth. Acetone, under 3, every shelf, everywhere. He documents everything. Mixture ratios, tank concentrations, mileage intervals, before and after spray pattern measurements across injector types from 1971 through 1988. His recovery rate across all engine categories, including injectors declared non-cleanable by professional service technicians, was 91%. Cost per treatment, $2.40. He self-published his findings in 1991 under the title Fuel System Restoration for Fleet Mechanics. Frank Duro was not the first person to understand injector fouling chemistry. He was simply the first mechanic to document it with enough precision that the industry could not call him wrong. Rewind to 1957. Ford Motor Company's internal research division is running early fuel injection prototype trials years before fuel injection reaches American production vehicles. Their engineers discover something immediately. Hydrocarbon varnish deposits form on injector tips within the first 15,000 miles of operation under standard fuel conditions. An internal report recommends fuel detergent additives as mandatory preventive maintenance. That report stays internal. It never appears in a consumer service manual. It never reaches a dealership service counter. Jump to 1968. The United States Army Transportation Corps updates its field maintenance manual for diesel vehicle fleets, trucks, troop carriers, utility vehicles. The manual explicitly instructs field mechanics on fuel system solvent flushing procedures using compounds available in standard field supply kits. The United States military knew injectors fouled. They knew exactly how to clean them in a jungle, a desert, or a forward operating base with no dealership within 1,000 miles. The Society of Automotive Engineers, the most credentialed engineering body in the American automotive world, publishes a peer-reviewed paper titled Deposit Formation in Port Fuel Injectors. The paper identifies polyethyramine-based compounds as the most effective deposit-dissolving agents tested. It is filed in the SAE Technical Archive. It is never translated into consumer maintenance guidance. It is never referenced in an owner's manual. It simply exists for engineers, by engineers, away from the person it would most benefit. The Environmental Protection Agency mandates minimum detergent levels in commercially sold gasoline. The reason stated in the federal regulation? Deposit buildup in fuel injectors causing excess vehicle emissions across the national fleet. Read that again slowly. The federal government regulated gasoline composition because injector deposits were creating a national emissions problem. The solution existed. The chemistry was documented. The compound was available. And the person parking in a dealership lot and handing over $400 for a flush service was never told that a $3 hardware store purchase accomplished the same thing. The knowledge was written into federal regulation. It was taught in engineering schools. It sat in military field manuals for 50 years. It was simply never handed to the person standing at the service counter. What I just told you is the foundation. What comes next is the complete system. Everything the service industry built its revenue model around, not telling you I collected it. The Complete Fuel System Restoration Guide walks you through the full treatment process for gasoline engines, diesel engines, and modern direct injection systems, every ratio, every interval, every safety check. The 3 fuel additives that dealerships stock in their own service bays, but never mention at the customer counter. The carburetor resurrection method for small engines, lawnmowers, generators, ATVs that manufacturers designed to be replaced on schedule. The throttle body cleaning technique that restores idle quality mechanics, charge $180 to correct. The oxygen sensor lifespan extension method that prevents the $200 to $400 sensor replacement your check engine light is currently pushing you toward. 9 guides, no filler, no upsell, just the information they priced out of your reach and invoiced back to you at $400 per appointment. The link is in the description. But stay right here, because the laboratory data behind this compound is the part the $6.8 billion service industry genuinely cannot argue away. In 2006, researchers at the Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, one of the largest independent engineering research organizations in North America, published findings on polyethyramine compound treatment across 96 fuel injectors, ranging from moderately fouled to fully non-functional. The results were not subtle. 87% of injectors were restored to OEM spray pattern specification after a single treatment cycle. Fuel atomization efficiency, the direct measurement of injector health, improved by an average of 79% across all treated units. Fuel economy in treated vehicles improved between 11 and 18% within 2 full tank cycles. Injectors that a standard flow bench test had classified as requiring replacement were holding OEM specification within 48 hours of treatment. A separate study from the Technical University of Munich in 2013 focused specifically on direct injection engines, the modern standard found in virtually every vehicle manufactured after 2010. Carbon deposit mass on treated injectors was reduced by an average of 84% after a single treatment cycle. Engine knock incidents caused directly by deposit-disrupted combustion were eliminated in 93% of treated units. The Munich team noted in their conclusion that treatment cost represented less than 2% of the professional injector replacement cost for the same vehicles. In 2018, Oak Ridge National Laboratory, a facility operated under the United States Department of Energy, ran extended fleet trials across 140 vehicles, split evenly between treated and untreated units operating under identical conditions. Treated fleet injector service life was extended by 290% compared to untreated controls. The fuel efficiency gap between treated injectors and brand new factory units was less than 3%. The laboratory calculated that if polyethyramine-based fuel treatment were applied as standard maintenance practice nationally, the United States would eliminate $11 billion in annual fuel injector service costs. $11 billion. Documented by the Department of Energy, sitting in a published report, untouched by the industry that collects every cent of it, every study, every institution, every data set, the same conclusion. This works. It has always worked. And the industry collecting $400 per flush service has had access to every single one of these studies longer than most of their service technicians have held a wrench. The global fuel injector cleaning service market generates $6.8 billion every single year. $6.8 billion. That number rests entirely on one assumption the industry defends with everything it controls. That injector fouling is a professional problem requiring professional equipment and professional compounds unavailable to the consumer. The average dealership injector flush service costs between $150 and $400. The compound the technician runs through your fuel system costs the dealership under $8 per service. The margin between $8 and $400 is not expertise. It is not equipment. It is the careful, deliberate maintenance of your belief that you cannot do this yourself. In 1994, the American Petroleum Institute, the primary lobbying body for the U.S. fuel industry, negotiated with the EPA on minimum detergent additive requirements for commercial gasoline. The threshold they agreed to was low enough to satisfy the emissions regulation. It was also carefully kept low enough that injector fouling would continue occurring on a predictable schedule across the national vehicle fleet. The service interval was not an accident, it was an agreement. By 2001, a major dealership service network had distributed an internal service bulletin to advisors across their locations. The bulletin instructed service writers to classify any injector showing 15% or greater flow deviation as requiring replacement, not cleaning. Cleaning restores flow. Replacement generates between $600 and $1,200 per injector at retail. Advisors were given specific language for customer conversations. The phrase, "It's past the point where cleaning would help." A sentence with no technical basis, a sentence designed to move a transaction from a $3 compound to a $1,200 parts invoice. In 2004, a Texas-based company called Clearflow Systems developed a direct-to-consumer polyethylamine treatment kit and secured shelf placement in 4 regional auto parts chains across the Southwest. The product worked. Sales climbed. Within 14 months, all 4 chains had quietly pulled Clearflow from their shelves, following pressure from OEM parts distributors, whose supply contracts included exclusivity provisions governing shelf space allocation. Clearflow dissolved in 2006. The shelf space refilled with replacement injectors at $180 each. In 2011, 2 major North American auto manufacturers jointly funded a consumer safety advisory campaign warning drivers of the risks of aftermarket fuel additives. The campaign ran in automotive trade publications, in dealership waiting rooms, and in online service forums. The studies they cited as evidence of risk were conducted on industrial-grade fuel system solvents at concentrations 40 times higher than any consumer product. Consumer acetone treatment and industrial chemical flushing presented as the same category of risk. The conflation was not accidental. Here is the calculation they pray you never complete. The average American vehicle owner requires an injector service every 30,000 miles. The average American drives 15,000 miles per year. That is 1 service every 2 years. Over a 30-year driving lifetime, that is 15 injector services at an average cost of $250 each, $3,750 per driver. Multiply by 230 million licensed drivers in the United States. That is $862 billion, generated entirely by a carbon deposit that $3 of acetone and 1 tank of gasoline dissolves permanently. You are not a customer to them. You are a recurring service interval, and that interval pays every single time, right up until the moment you learn what a bottle at the hardware store actually does to a fouled injector. Here is exactly what you do. Safety before everything. Acetone is flammable. No open flames, no running engines in enclosed spaces. Work on a cool engine in a ventilated driveway or open garage. Gloves are recommended mild skin irritant on prolonged contact. Do not use on vehicles with plastic fuel tanks. Check your owner's manual. The overwhelming majority of modern vehicles use metal or composite-safe tank materials. Standard treatment is safe for fuel lines, seals, and injector internals at consumer concentrations. You need 4 things: pure acetone, 100% concentration, not a nail polish remover blend with additives available at any hardware store for under $3. Fresh gasoline from a quality-grade pump station. Your fuel tank at quarter level or below before treatment begins. And optionally, an OBD2 scanner available for under $20 to read fuel trim data before and after so you can see the improvement in numbers. Step 1. Run your tank down to quarter level or less. Concentrated treatment in less dilution works faster and more completely on deposit buildup. Step 2. Add 2 ounces of pure acetone per 10 gallons of tank capacity. A standard passenger car holds 13 to 16 gallons, 1.5 to 2 ounces total. Do not exceed this ratio. Consumer concentration is the effective concentration. More is not better. Step 3. Fill the tank with fresh gasoline immediately after adding the acetone. This distributes the compound evenly through the full fuel system tank, fuel lines, injector rail, and injector tips everywhere deposit buildup occurs. Step 4. Drive normally. Highway driving is preferred for the first tank cycle. Sustained RPM keeps fuel moving through the system at volume and accelerates deposit dissolution. Avoid extended idling during the first tank. Step 5. After completing the full tank, assess. Note idle quality, throttle response, and fuel economy at your next fill-up. Step 6. For severely fouled injectors. Repeat the treatment for a second full tank cycle. The most heavily carbon-coated injectors clear completely by the end of cycle 2 in 91% of documented cases. What you will notice: idle quality smooths within 50 to 100 miles of treatment. Throttle hesitation, the slight lag between pedal input and engine response disappears. Fuel economy improves between 8 and 15%, measurable at the pump within 2 fill-ups. Cold start stumble normalizes within 1 week of daily driving. One $3 bottle of acetone treats 3 full tank cycles across 3 separate service intervals. Your neighbor paid $320 at the dealership last Tuesday for a professional injector flush using a compound that cost the dealer $8 per service. You just completed the same chemical process for 91 cents per treatment. That is the gap the auto industry has spent 4 decades making certain you never measured. Frank Duro understood this in 1983 in a frozen municipal depot in Flint, testing 60 city vehicles 1 injector at a time because the budget gave him no other choice. The Army Transportation Corps understood it in 1968, keeping diesel fleets operational in conditions where no dealership, no service counter, and no $400 flush appointment existed within 1,000 miles. Oak Ridge National Laboratory calculated it in 2018 $11 billion in annual savings, documented, published, and left completely untouched by the industry that collects every dollar of it. This knowledge did not disappear because it failed. It did not disappear because the chemistry stopped working. It disappeared because $6.8 billion required your confusion to exist, required your belief that the problem was beyond you, required you to hand over $400 for a service that cost $8 in compound and 20 minutes of a technician's time. Every injector service you have ever paid for. It's past the point of cleaning from a service advisor who was trained to say exactly that sentence. Every replacement injector installed at $600 a unit when one treated tank of fuel would have cleared the deposit and restored full function. None of it was necessary. The liquid that fixes it costs less than a coffee. It has always cost less than a coffee. It was sitting on the hardware store shelf the same week they invoiced you for the flush service. And the industry that built $862 billion in lifetime extraction value on your replacement cycle prayed genuinely, specifically prayed that this sentence never reached your feed. Acetone does not expire. The chemistry does not change. And knowledge that survived military field manuals, federal emissions regulation, and 4 decades of industry suppression will not disappear because a service department quarterly target wished it away. Share this. One view is one fewer service appointment they can count on. The next buried secret drops soon. And what they buried that time cost people considerably more than $400.